Hey guys, so we're rolling into another episode of the Minds of Culture podcast, and today's stimulating topics are going to be a few different things because now we have our live format and we're going to be able to do a couple more interesting things here and have more viewer interaction. So obviously, this will develop more as time goes on, but excited to start it with you guys. So, this is going to be episode 16. This is going to have the quiet parts being said out loud, AOC flip flopping on things, and some fallout of COVID. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, I want to start first here with this video from Communist News Network. This needs no introduction. Let's just take a look at it so you can just see what's going on here.
Clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. I mean, you were mentioning, Chris, about how all these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. See, we have long said this that the we have long said this that the carrot on the stick, literally, to use it, they dangle a carrot on a stick in front of us and say, "Oh, well, we're just gonna kick this can down the road, move the goalpost. We're gonna just make sure, 2 weeks is a little spread. How about a year instead? And counting. Let's just keep it moving. Yeah, we're gonna try to make a massive power grab. That's what this was always about. This was always a massive power grab. It was never supposed to be some sort of it was never supposed to be some sort of, I don't know, concentrated effort to actually help people, as you saw with their closing of gyms and whatnot, which, people who exercise have a better time of faring off against the virus and a better time of dealing with it. And it's a good thing to exercise and whatnot, but that's not what they tried to focus on. They said, you know what, let's just make sure all the gyms are closed. There was no campaign out trying to make sure people ate better to build up better immune systems, saying, hey, let's focus on these foods. And no government wasn't trying to say, let's use some of the taxpayer money to get these foods out to people. No, that was never a case. What we have is literally Krispy Kreme offering people donuts for getting a COVID shot. Yep, get your COVID shot and your diabetes here today. Like, this was never about health. This was never an honest conversation. And as Dr. Wen just said, this was always about control and the fact that she said, no, we don't want people to have any of these freedoms unless you get the shot, unless you get the jab. If you don't get it, then you need to be locked in. You get no freedoms. We want your life as hard as possible until you conform to what we want you to do. And that was always the goal. And once people start really realizing that, and people are, like, and around the world, people are, especially outside of America, but people are, this is only gonna go one way. You can't keep doing this to people. You do this and then you're just getting so bold to the point where you can just be like, let's just say the quiet parts literally out loud, screaming from the heavens. This is not gonna end well, and this is gonna lead to more conflict. And what we really need is just everywhere to open up and then let people do what they're going to, let people have their own personal and private freedoms. If you are scared, you want to stay in a bubble in your house, wear a mask, wear 18 masks, make sure you cover every orifice on your body, go right ahead, but don't force other people to do so. Now let's get to the next part. Okay, so now we can get over to Let's see here. So I wanted to next talk about, let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, so the next topic is going to be surrounding AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the sentient bag of rocks. So I just want to point out, it's funny how we saw a large concentrated effort from her to talk about how, especially during Trump's presidency and his administration, how they were mistreating immigrants and illegal aliens and the border crisis. And the crisis was that they were stripping kids away from their mothers and all of this, right? That's what she had. Like, let's not forget her little photo shoot here. Here, let's take a look at it. Remember this? This little photo shoot. I don't know, man. This is a bad picture, but I mean, okay. I mean, she's supposed to look sad. Couldn't really get the tears to come out, but she had to scrunch up as much as possible. Look at all the stress she had to put right there. Let's see. Next, couldn't get the tears out, so just covered your face like you were crying. Made sure all your depth of field was on and you were in frame and everything. Your lighting was perfect and your hair was blowing. But yeah, you care a lot. Yep, lean down. Let's see. Nope, still couldn't get the tears to come out, but the lighting is fantastic. Yes. Oh goodness, it's almost like it was planned or staged, but almost got those tears out. But regardless of this, here let's just take a funny look here. If you guys aren't following Biden voters posting their L's online, you got to. It's some of the funniest stuff you'll ever see. But let's just take a look at what she had said here. This is June 18th, 2019. The administration has established concentration camps on the southern border of the United States for immigrants, where they are being brutalized with dehumanizing conditions and dying. This is not hyperbole. It is the conclusion of expert analysis. February 23rd, 2021. An immediate improvement would require influx facilities with children to be licensed. Another issue is whether these services should be contracted out the way they currently are to begin with, and whether faculties with controversial records, example Homestead, should be reopened. So, as we can see here, we're brutalizing them, and this is terrible, and there needs to be immediate change. Just can't imagine these concentration camps, and then just under a simple administration change, just a couple months of change. Oh, we require influx facilities. We need this. There's just every excuse in the book. It's fine. It's fine. We don't have that same level of border crisis before. It's fine. She actually made an Instagram video. I didn't pull up here, but she did make an Instagram video citing that we have an imperialism issue, and that if we say we have a surge at the border, that's a militaristic term, and and it means insurgents rather than surge just meaning a increase of. So if I say, Ben Shapiro pointed this out, you said, if I have a surge of electricity and I use a surge protector, that must be the electricity or insurgents trying to destroy my lovely camera over there. Or if I have a game, Destiny, like a game I love playing, has a surge in the player base. There's insurgents coming in to take over the game. Like it's just the funny thing. That's not English. That's the thing. Like that's not English. Like she'll find any way to weasel out of whatever. And the issue is that she's so culturally relevant, is that she and especially the left understand culture, and they use it to their advantage, and they use it expertly. Like, one thing I'll give her is that she's really dumb as a bag of rocks as far as her policies go, but as far as culturally, oh, she's a genius. As far as culturally, she's Aristotle, because she can frame things and just somehow she can frame things and just say the most outlandish things, and then just when someone else does the exact same thing and worse, under the next administration, she can just reframe stuff and everyone somehow forgets. It leaves their minds. Wait, come back memories. No. Well, I guess AOC is great. That's the level of what happens here. So it's just really funny that we have. It's not funny, but I mean, it's just comical that that she can sit here while there's been such an overflow and people are crammed together like sardines, and the Biden administration wasn't even letting press in for the longest time. I think they just got in one facility and they're just pressed together like sardines, and this is the side that was complaining about it, but they're doing the exact same thing at greater capacity because they don't want to send them back. Oh, oh, it's all fine now. That's why I say that this is never about a border issue. This is about mind share, mind control, public perception. This is not about helping these kids. AOC doesn't care about these kids. She couldn't squeeze out one fake tear in that photo shoot. This was about public perception and being seen as the good guy, even though you don't care at all. Where is she now? I'll tell you what, not at the border. Let's get to the next segment. Alrighty, so we're gonna now take a look at this article from the Blaze, and it's gonna be talking about some stuff about Dr. Fauci, and which is gonna tie right into the border crisis and how we have all this concentrated effort. We got to stop COVID, slow the spread, 2 weeks a month, 3 months, 6 months, the whole year, rest of our lives. We got to slow the spread, right? But if we look here. Former Trump, former Trump chief of staff wants to know why Dr. Fauci isn't saying something about the COVID dangers of the border crisis. Curiously quiet. Yeah, it is pretty curiously quiet. So let's take a look at this. Oops, that was the wrong thing. I was trying to move there. Alrighty. All right, let's take a look at this. So, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and President Joe Biden's chief medical advisor, has been more than happy to speak his mind on the multitude of topics whenever he believes there might be even the most tangential coronavirus connection. He has warned against going to holiday gatherings, attending sporting events, living life without face masks, even if vaccinated, allowing maskless kids to play together, and anything else that tickles his fancy. But he has been strangely silent about the border crisis, where our border patrol is being overrun by thousands of illegal aliens surging into the U.S. The migrant crisis has raised COVID-19 questions in the minds of many observers. How many of these illegals are positive for the virus? Is our government even bothering to test them? Have they released known COVID positive migrants into the country? It turns out that thousands of migrants have been released into the U.S. without evidence of ever having submitted a COVID-19 test, the New York Post reported. The U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention even changed its COVID protocol guidelines to allow the Biden administration to house illegal immigrant children in shelters at 100% capacity and more. And at least one mayor of a U.S. border town has repeatedly sounded the alarm that the government was shipping illegals to his community and refusing to reveal the migrants' COVID-19 infection rates. Yes, Dr. Fauci has remained curiously quiet about all of this. His silence has not gone unnoticed. One of the leading voices calling out Fauci's refusal to call out the border crisis COVID-19 threat is the man who served as chief staff to the former president Donald Trump. Mark Meadows made his observation Wednesday afternoon on Twitter. There was no policy, medical or otherwise, that Dr. Fauci wouldn't weigh in on when President Trump was in the White House. Curious we haven't heard the same from Dr. Fauci on Joe Biden releasing thousands of COVID untested migrants into the U.S. You see, you see right here, we can stop there for a moment, but the ridiculous thing here, of course, is that it it's all posturing, it's all gesturing. If you've seen, I mean, all of these topics flow right into each other. All of this is posturing. Like none of this is trying to actually solve things, as we've seen with Cuomo and Whitmer and others. I can't remember their name at the moment, so I don't want to speak on someone that I'm not. I want to accuse someone I'm not sure of their name right now, but definitely Cuomo and Whitmer sending COVID patients into nursing homes, eradicating them essentially, for lack of better word terms. And then we have here, sending COVID to possibly COVID infected immigrants into border towns, and then we're gonna see, oh, look at all these COVID infection rates going up, and and then it's like, yeah, why do you think this is happening? Oh, it's because there's not enough masks. We gotta apply the eighth mask, the eighth day mask, and then the ninth day mask, and then the Juneteenth mask, all the masks, and then we'll fix it. While they're literally pumping people into the country that could possibly have this disease. So if you really care about it, why is this not going said? Like Fauci has said that even if you get the vaccine, you still gotta wear a mask, you still gotta do our social distancing. Why? Because it's still wild types, and your wild types might not be covered under the vaccine. So your vaccine may do nothing against the strain that you might possibly have. So you still gotta wear it. So if it's that serious, that urgent, and the vaccine that apparently is supposed to be saving lives so much to the point that we need a passport for it to go places, if that's the case, why are they being pumped out here, and why are you saying nothing? Dr. Fauci. Let's continue. Meadows isn't the only critic. Isn't the only one. Meadows isn't the only Fauci critic to note the good doctor's refusal to comment on the border situation. Alabama Republican Rep. Mo Brooks and a number of other GOP lawmakers fired off a letter to Fauci on March 12th, asking him to use his clout to stop a dangerous new foreign pipeline for COVID-19 along the U.S.-Mexico border, Al reported. The letter stated that Biden's dangerous policy of catch and release along the southern border and caused an uptick in illegal crossings, exposing the lack of any uniform testing requirements or quarantine protocols, despite the fact that Mexico now has the highest per capita COVID fatality rate in Latin America. Even more troubling, the letter continued, our recent reports indicating that the surge in illegal migration is worsening by the day, creating a dangerous new foreign pipeline for COVID-19 infections in the border communities and the nation at large. Fauci, the lawmakers noted, is in a unique position to make recommendations based on scientific evidence and data on what you believe to be the best practices when it comes to containing the spread of the virus, something you have not hesitated to do on multiple occasions over the course of the last several months. Yet, Fauci has remained silent. We have Representative Mo Brooks. I joined out of my colleagues in sending a letter to Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins, explaining that Biden's border crisis will only get worse if we continue the catch and release of illegal aliens that are carrying COVID-19 across our porous southern border. And, of course, just right there, so we can end the segment, it's just really sad that people play with people's lives like this. Like, people always, like, we hear Biden saying, "Oh, don't play politics," like people like Texas. If you raise the mask mandate, reinstate it. This isn't politics. This is people's lives. Come on, man. But here we have your medical, the your chief of staff, Dr. Fauci, here not doing anything and not saying anything, and you just enabling this to happen. So if you really care about this, Biden, Fauci, your entire administration, the left as a whole, Why not talk about this? Why not? Let's try to see if we can find a solution to this. But that's not what y'all want. Y'all just want Orange Man to be bad and to enjoy your favorite Jesus Biden. If you don't know why I'm calling him that, look up Jesus Biden magazine cover. If you're not disgusted when you see it, oh good lord. But that's gonna be that segment. Let's move on to the next segment. So it's time to stop feeling sorry for restaurants. One of the saddest business stories, like, hold on, let me just say, it's time to stop feeling sorry for restaurants. You're, I want to say some things, but man, like, I mean, that's just a garbage human being to say that. That's just you're a garbage human being. You're equal to trash. You're equal to dirty diapers and piled up in a dumpster. That's what you are if you say that and genuinely believe that. But let's see what the reasoning is. One of the saddest business stories to come out of the 2020 pandemic was the impact that mandated shutdowns had on the restaurant industry. News reports across the country covered frustrated business owners who were forced to comply with restrictions that limited their ability to serve their customers, indoor or even at all. By summertime, reports began appearing of more than 6,000 restaurants closing nationwide, a number that ballooned to as many as 110,000 by the end of the year. Did 110,000 restaurants fail in 2020? Perhaps, but hold on. Ooh, gotta plug this thing in. Let's pause the show for 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta make sure we don't die out here. The whole thing goes down. All right, but wow, perhaps like 110,000. Oh, perhaps, but hold on. The fact is that restaurants fail at higher rate than most small businesses. That's why, according to industry reports, 60% of restaurants don't make it past their first year, and 80% go out of business within 5 years. Currently, there are about 660,000 restaurants operating in this country. So, if 80% of them go out of business in 5 years, that would be a rate of about 105 restaurants shutting their doors every year. So, as far as right here goes, what we have an issue with this, right, is that so of course they pointed to this figure here, right? And that was the number of restaurants in spring of 2018. And so you're saying that this is the amount of restaurants operating, and if 80% of them go out of business within 5 years, this would be a rate of restaurants shutting down their doors every year. Now, see, the issue here is, for one, obviously this is higher, and the issue is if it's already difficult to run a business, to run a restaurant especially, all of this made it almost impossible, made it even harder, even more likely they would shut down. So, if it's already this high and this is already the rate, and I would have to check more into that because I believe this is actually a high ball. But if you want to say this is, let's say for argument's sake, this is the rate, why would we want to increase it, or why would we want to make it worse? Hmm? Why would we want to make it worse? In a recent speech, President Biden said that more than 400,000 small businesses overall had closed this past year. But hold on again. According to the Small Business Administration, there are about 30.2 million small businesses in the U.S., of which 5.9 million have actually have employees. The SBA reports that anywhere between from 7 to 9% of those 5.9 million employer firms go out of business every year. Breaking it down, that comes to as many as 531,000 failed firms annually. In other words, lots of small business, especially restaurants, close every year regardless of global pandemics. Yes, and this has increased it. And it has increased it by more than by more, and like your stats here also are a bit more than this, but we won't go into that right now. But even if we go by these current stats, yes, we have increased it, and it's not what we need, and it's not what we need to actually be doing. Like if we could avoid that happening, that'd be better. But yeah, I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine. Yes, it's been a very difficult year for the restaurant industry, but you know what? The one that remains are still going just fine. In fact, many will probably emerge in better shape before. Lies. That's because despite the rules from the government that require those businesses to curtail their operations, those same governments actually stepped up to provide a lot of assistance. Okay, yeah, sure. And small restaurant owners took advantage. What kind of help did the industry receive? For starters, the Paycheck Protection Program launched a second round late in 2020 that not only specifically target the restaurant industry, but also changed its loan calculation to make more funds available for them. Okay, so here we have government program, government program to save a day. Government shuts you down, then government gives you blood money to protect you. Yeah, I don't see that as a good thing. You push me down the stairs and then you take me to the hospital to fix my broken legs. I don't really appreciate it, but okay. The new rules also expanded the definition of forgivable expenses to include costs, food contracts, investments, outdoor dining, and more protection for workers and customers. Hundreds of thousands of restaurants took advantage to these added business, and hundreds of thousands still closed. Besides the much needed paycheck protection program, many smart restaurant owners also, I like this, smart restaurant owners. So yeah, you wouldn't have closed if you were smart. Like look at the arrogance of this. You get paid for sitting in your jammies and writing on the internet, and you're just gonna take a crap all over hard workers that are actually doing stuff outside. Like, and continue to take advantage of the other generous. Generous, they cause the problem. It's not generous for you to fix the problem that you caused. It's not generosity. That's you just covering your ass. Federal pandemic benefit program, so more programs such as the employee federal tax credit and the economic injury disaster long program. Oh my goodness. Or they made use of a grant programs used by delivery services such as Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or states like California and Illinois. Across the country, cities and states issued rules that suspended payments and launched rental assistance programs that impacted countless smaller restaurants. For example, thanks to the federal stimulus, which was not enough at all to cover anyone's bills. My hometown of Philadelphia has offered as much as $100 million in aid to small businesses in the city. The majority of them restaurants that included substantial assistance to pay for rent. Other cities and states such as California and Oregon have done the same, getting the kind of government help to pay for what many restaurant owners fix their overhead costs has been a crucial factor for survival. And also if we talk about that right there, when they say that 100 million in aid, that's not 100 million to each restaurant. Obviously, that's 100 million across all of them. Like, do you know the expenses for these places? Like, even a small restaurant, I mean small business, any small business, you got like I don't think this person understand like how much inventory do you have to buy and to make, and then how much inventory do you have to sell to be able to afford more inventory, and then you got to pay your employees, and then you have to pay all your taxes and your fees and all the stuff the government wants to take from you. and then you got to make sure everything is clean and up to date, and you got all your forms in order, and then of course you have to have money on the sides. You have to have money that's on hand to be used for emergency expenses. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So them just saying, "Oh, they got this, so they're fine now." That's like saying, "Oh, I got my stimulus, so I'm good now. Like all my bills are covered." Like not at all. If you believe the stimulus, if the stimulus covered all your bills, which I doubt there's anyone there that is, unless you're just like a child and you have no bills. But if they covered all your bills, which they probably didn't, so imagine that, but you're trying to run an entire business. This is a stimulus for a business for businesses. Does stimulus work for you? Besides assistance, many cities like Philadelphia as well as Dallas and Boston have eased permit restrictions and allowed the restaurants to build makeshift eateries on the sidewalks and streets outside their establishment. Equipped with heaters and air ducts, those tables have been filled throughout the winter with intrepid diners desperate for a night away from Netflix. Equipped with heaters and air ducts again, this came out of the business owners' pockets. The government didn't just give those, and they permitted them to bail something in front of their sidewalks. Oh wow! Oh, thank you, government, for allowing me to try to keep my business going when you tried to shut it down. New York City has already announced its intention to allow restaurants to continue their outdoor dining, and a number of cities are considered the same, which means that once the pandemic's behind us, many establishments will have their capacity increased by 50 to 100%, a huge revenue opportunity in the years to come. Oh yeah, huge revenue opportunity in the years to come. Only that you had to do this a scramble to get everything to work and for one, if they're going outside and they can't operate inside, there's also more expenses. And what if they don't get that amount of business? That was just to make sure they got some business. You don't know if all of them want to continue doing that, that's profitable, and how much these heating and air ducts cost, and making sure staff knows it changes the order for tables inside and outside, and if they want to keep doing outside. There's so many steps that go into that. So you just acting like, oh yeah, this is just profitable, this is all great, is a lie. And then, of course, the biggest source of aid is yet to come with the American Rescue Plan Act. More government programs, more spending other people's money, acting like, for one, a lot of these business owners are some of the people that pay the most in taxes. So really, guess what? They're getting their money taken away from them, and the government is throwing a little back at them. You think about that? You think about where the government is getting the money for these programs? Getting it from the same people they're giving it back to, but only giving them pennies on the dollar. Now, the federal government stepped up to provide a massive grant to restaurant called the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, 29 billion grant fund, which is not accepting applicants. 29 billion for all the restaurants. This is federal, which is all the restaurants, all these businesses in the U.S. 29 billion is not a lot on that scale. Will literally reimburse restaurants for the loss in revenues they experienced in 2020 compared to 2019. Yeah, sure. Good luck with that. You need a lot more money. That's going to be a big check once the program is up and running. Oh, thank you, government, for giving the check back that I would have rather just worked for. When I walk around downtown Philadelphia during the fall and winter, I worry for the future of all restaurants around me. Many of them were shut up, even boarded up. But now, as the weather warms, cases subside, and vaccines increase, I'm noticing those same small businesses, dormant for many months, are slowly coming back to life. Those owners were smart enough to have hoarded cash, negotiated suspended deals with suppliers, and grabbed all the funding available for them. And many of them who pivoted to online sales, deliveries, curbside pickups, and new specialized offerings have discovered new revenue streams that will benefit them going forward. Also, this right here, the online sales and deliveries and curbside, that also wasn't available to everyone. There's a heartbreaking video of a woman that has a film studio, like a movie being filmed right across the parking lot next to our restaurant, and at her restaurant, when she was trying to do stuff digitally and online and like that pickup going on, cops came up to her and said, "Oh no, you still gotta shut this down. You can't do this at all." So there was a lot of pushback, and it took time for them to get there. And like some businesses didn't have the time to have that, to get all of this stuff to work out before the walls closed around in them, and they were closed and they weren't opening back up. So I like that these are the same type of people that say, oh, a single life lost due to COVID is too many. But these businesses being closed, these families going possibly hungry due to losing mommy and daddy losing their business and whatnot. Oh no no no, that's fine, that's fine. They'll just figure it out. People are sick, man. I'm not going to argue this past year wasn't a historic catastrophe, largest wealth transfer in the history of the world for many in the restaurant industry, but the industry has survived barely. And with the funding available, the smartest, look at this, the smartest, look at that, man. Just the smartest owners. Like, stop talking down to these people, man. Like, what do you like? If the smartest thing you can do is write this, like, this awful article, I don't think you should have the word smartest in your lexicon, my guy. Are putting themselves in a position to benefit from pent up demand and savings from the past. Savings? What are you talking about, savings? People weren't working, there wasn't production. Who was saving money? People were scrambling from all different types of businesses. What are you talking about, savings? So let's not feel bad for these people. Let's eat. I'm sick to my stomach. Get this off my screen. Get this off. Oh my, I'm sick to my stomach. That's probably maybe the one of the worst things I've read ever. The same people that will say, man, I was just so lost for words on this one. Like this was horrendous. This was disgusting. Like I'm never want to read something like this again. I'm going to, but at some point. But man, this is awful. This is genuinely probably one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life. Man, wow, that one hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt. Alrighty. So those are segments I got planned for today. Those are segments that I had planned for today. So that's the rest of the podcast. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that we have this new setup here. We obviously have a bit more flexibility as far as articles, reading them, and as far as switching in and out. And it's going to be a live show format now, so people can tune in. You can leave your comments. We get enough comments for certain things, there will be viewer questions and stuff that we can raise and we can talk about and we can add to the show. So it'll develop over time. Oh my goodness, it'll develop over time, but it's where it's at right now. I'm having a great time with this, and I think this will be great moving forward. So expect more in the future. We're going to still keep the same days as far as for the live streams. It's just as when the podcast comes out, being Saturday and Sunday, it's just we're going to have it be a live stream. So, and if you can't miss the live stream, if you miss the live stream, remember it'll still be up after the fact, and it will also we'll also have clips come out for you later in case you just want to hear one part of it. But that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.